allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. We will get right into it. The approval of minutes from regular session, November 6th, 2025. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or edits? No? All in favor? Perfect. Thank you. And we'll go on to the financial report.
Okay, plain business manager again, which I will always be happily. It's my calm place. What you have here is Kristen's, I think maybe last month she mentioned it was coming, but we didn't want to do the transfers at the time because we needed to make sure we had everything. So you've got the latest financial report, and on the front page there are a number of transfers, all in one fell swoop. We're asking you just to vote the transfers as presented, which will, most of these are because of your ESP negotiation. So last year when we negotiated, we put the pool of dollars for negotiations on one line, and once it's settled and implemented, we're trying to roll things out so that we're starting our starting balances this year in the real place, most importantly, so that next year when we're building the new budget, things don't look crazy. So I'm asking for this vote, the one or two lines that are not support staff related is, I think last month they mentioned that teacher salary line that is very over is unfortunate due to two reasons. A reduction in Title I funding that we got this year, and I think it's going to be even bigger next year, and a good number of column movements that we didn't anticipate in budget. The good news is we are getting more circuit breaker reimbursement than we anticipated. They did fund enough to cover a good amount of transportation, so that means that the budget cost for your out-of-district tuitions will be lower than here. So my recommendation is to, again, try and set things to look good for the rest of this year, but also have the right starting balances for next year, is to include a transfer from the private tuition line to the teacher salary line to clean that up. So everything here nets to zero. They're just pluses and minuses with no bottom line impact. Questions, concerns?
Okay, so where do you want?
So the vote would be
Yes.
to do the budgetary transfers as presented, and that will cover each of the items that's down below.
So,
By voting, if you vote as presented, what that's going to do is, for example,
yeah, I guess
I'll give you
for a
one
little
line
more
example.
explanation.
So if
Where
you
is this
look
money?
at,
This just says.
it's all within
Yeah.
your same budget. So all you're going to do is, say your first line. On this report we just gave you, the short account 215, which is your special ed assistant, so
Yep.
that's the far majority of your ESP. Right now, that piece of paper says the budgeted line is 542,632. Once you vote this transfer, it's gonna go down to 503,269, because these other lines, we're gonna vote higher amounts.
You can look all on the paper on your right side. If it's in parentheses, money is coming out of that account.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that. So but I'm asking where this money's coming out, where is it going?
The net is zero. Some of them are
Okay.
pluses and some of them are minuses.
Okay.
Okay? So all that minuses, we're gonna lower the beginning balance, and all those pluses, we're gonna increase the beginning balance. Net is zero.
Okay.
How is this going to affect the staff, or?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Nope, not at all. It puts all the money in the line items we needed. It's budget neutral. It's simply just moving the money into the line items that when we built the budget, we didn't know how much those line items needed because we were still negotiating.
Okay.
Okay? Not impacting staff at all.
Do I have a motion to approve the budgetary transfers as presented? So moved. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Awesome. That's it for this month, unless anybody has any other questions. We have already had 2 meetings, and there will be at least another one to go before we send you all out the 2027 budget. Yes, but that'll be January's meeting.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah, oh,
Special ed transportation looks even worse than last month.
yeah, and again,
Is
the.
it gonna keep getting worse?
I don't think it is. Last month, they probably hadn't quite encumbered everything and knew for sure. We did have some movements on where children
Okay.
were. So, and that also does change sometimes based on gas prices, but this early in the year, we wouldn't do that. It is a line that we have been struggling for years to keep up with.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, because I thought when we budgeted last year, we tried to.
Well, right, and
For it?
like we put 50,000 more when we really should have put 100,000 more.
Okay.
And we do have, that is possibly an area that once again, we're gonna say we did get some, is it here? We did get rural aid. I'm so sorry, so I'm glad
Okay.
we segued into that. Is last year, I think we might have used a little bit of rural aid to get out of that deficit as well as some projects. So, you did get rural aid this year, we did get the number. Is that even on this, because some of the cover sheets have been, it didn't note it there. It's in your report, it's a total of 136, I think there was about 20,000 that rolled over that it looks like a rollover, but we had already voted last year, or I reported to you that we had some boiler issues that we were fixing. It didn't get fixed till over the summer, so that sort of rolled in. So it looks like it's 136. It was closer to more like 100. 100,000 that you received. We all know the plight of the rural aid continues. There's certainly a very strong push and support, which I love, other than 2 things. And again, I'm very grateful that we get some, but I'm never gonna count on it, especially in Sturbridge, because if it gets squeezed, Sturbridge is the first one that's gonna fall off. They're barely rural. But also, even though there's a whole lot of legislative support, when push comes to shove, you only have so much money, and where the state chooses to put it is something we're gonna have to wait a little bit to see. But for this year, we did get the 100,000. So we may need some of that to cover special ed transportation. And then I'll do what I've done the last couple of years, is wait until maybe February till we get through the winter to see if there's anything else that we might want to do with one-time money. But we're still at a point where we're looking at it as one-time money.
Okay, while we're talking about the boiler,
Yeah.
what it was we're over budget on the building.
Yeah, there are a couple of lines there that, there's one encumbrance we need to release, it didn't happen, so I was just today checking. It isn't so much the boiler,
I was
there's
just
a
wondering what
number,
that one was.
there's a number, and what I will probably do is, if anything was extraordinary, unexpected, that's something that we probably can justify paying from rural aid now that we know we have it.
Okay.
There were a number of repair calls around your fire panel continuing. So I'm gonna get back to you. We're gonna move anything that isn't the standard. We're always gonna have an annual bill of, I feel like it's around $3,000 to the fire maintenance contract. But anything that was trying to troubleshoot and fix and repair, which I think we're finally in a good place. I hate saying these things out loud. Okay, I'm not gonna say it out loud. You know what was happening a year or 2 ago fairly regularly that put kids outside of buildings randomly for no good reason? It's been a while since that's happened, so I think we've found the problem. But that's what's throwing the maintenance and repair
Okay.
line over that. I think we're gonna be able to pull off of that.
Okay.
It's not something that I wanna leave that over and make that think we need to increase that line for next year's budget. I
So
think
we're
it's one-time
okay.
repairs, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
One other question
Mhm.
was just the water and sewer. I see that creeping up again, and I'm just, Do
Yeah.
you know what that's related
We-
to?
I know there's
We thought
still-
we found the leak, right?
Well, I know what we heard was that we found that there was a leak. I can't tell you for sure that the location and repair is complete.
Okay.
So I am trying to get a read on that. But the creep up, you're always gonna see heavier in the first half because it's the bills for the quarter before. We would have it pretty quiet because you are doing some watering your irrigation system in the spring and summer. So what's there is always heavier the first half of our bills and then towards the end, because we get just like at home, your quarterly bills come, for those of you who have water and sewer. Sorry.
Right, but our budget balance, we're over budget from what we had anticipated. So I just remember last year when we saw that. it was-
Yes, and actually, I would argue that that is a bookkeeping error because we don't know for sure what it's going to be.
Okay,
So usually what we do at the beginning of the year is we do kind of a dummy encumbrance for the whole thing and say, we know we're gonna have to pay money to the town, water and sewer. As they pay bills, they should release, unless we know for sure we're gonna
Any
go
way we can
over.
file for an
And-
abatement with the town?
Yeah, we've been there, done that, we're not going there again.
No,
Can't do it again. But no, I'm sorry, Jackie, I actually missed that overage. That's just, it's just a bookkeeping, because as you
Okay.
pay the bills early in the year, you should just release from that blanket.
okay,
I think it's too early to say that we're gonna be over.
okay. Thank you.
Yep,
Those sewer commissioners are tough.
they are tough. It's all good.
Any other questions on that? We'll move on to communications.
Yeah, and hopefully you all received, these are just the electronic reports that we send you. Legally, we need to send the Southern Worcester County Ed Collaborative reports. There was a quarterly and the annual. And for Kate, who still hasn't been one full cycle yet, but getting there, we're members of the collaborative, which is a special ed collaborative. The law requires that their reports get to the member communities, and this is our way of being able to back up and say, we sent it electronically, we don't kill trees and send the reports, but we're at least covered to put it on our agenda that they went out to you. So there's no vote or anything, it's just FYI.
Thank you. So we'll go on to the principal's report. Mrs. Kelly?
You'll see that our enrollment has dipped below 800 at this point. That's the lowest it's been in a very long time. So we did have a couple of registrations this week, so it may bump back up. But I just want to thank Tammy Edmonds and all of the staff and folks who taught the ASE program. It was extremely highly attended. I think she had over 200 students this time, and the new notices for the next round have gone out. Burge has provided Thanksgiving dinners to over 300 families through a school-wide food drive, as well as donations from the Public House, Hearthstone Market, McNuck's Fresh Marketplace, Quabog Lake Association, and others. Lucy Caldwell and Brianna Embry led the Burge's Band and Choral Ensemble in performing the national anthem at the November Worcester Railers game. Thank you to them. Curriculum instruction and assessment, we had parent-teacher conferences right before Thanksgiving. Report cards will be issued on December 12th. We continue with our MCAS analysis and looking at our data. And on November 21st, a team of Tantasco Union 61 teachers and administrators participated in Open SciEd Showcase at Quabbin Regional School District. Open SciEd empowers educators to go beyond traditional science teaching methods by bringing together leading science researchers and educators to craft curriculum that is aligned to how students learn best. It was a really wonderful, wonderful showcase. We've been working on, Open SciEd is a free resource, free in that the curriculum materials are free, but the materials that you need to implement it are not. But we've been working with that for, I think, 2 years. We've been exploring it. And we were able to actually see it in action in a district that has adopted it. I know Worcester was representative there. I don't know if they've adopted it, but it was very, because I was enthusiastic about the showcase. Professional development, to talk about being enthusiastic. On Friday, November 14th, 35 staff members from all Tantasco Union 61 participated in the first of 7 Wilson Reading training sessions that will continue for the remainder of this school year. The Wilson system is a Tier 3 structured literacy program based on phonological coding and Orton-Gillingham principles. again, really something that is important. If you're following the research, the news in regard to early literacy skills, we really need to beef that up across the state, across the country. So really exciting for us. Burgess had 18 staff members participating in this 35, and we hosted the second day of training here at Burgess today, and we will have another training tomorrow. Scholastic Book Fair was another fabulous, fabulous success. Over $25,000 worth of books and gifts were sold. Really the most successful to date. I just want to thank Katie Lynn Gendron for all of her hard work. It is a mammoth effort, and we do appreciate that. There are other PTO information. All students participated in the Square One Art Project. The Railers Night, which I mentioned earlier, had over 150 folks from Burgess in attendance. And the holiday shop is open. It opened this week. Andrea is running it, and we have some great volunteers. And the cookie walk will be held again. I don't know. Any questions? And please take some time and look at all the wonderful things happening in our classrooms. And concert schedule is on here as well. So lots going on as typical in December at Burgess.
Any questions? Any questions for no? Thank you.
I actually don't have a lot, because we do have a little bit later in the agenda, under new business and executive session, so really just housekeeping, because Kathy covered a whole lot with professional development. Things are going well. So we're excited of some of the different things that we're looking at and moving forward on. Two things, maybe three. One, there's just a note, because I wanted to check. At this point, I think all four, if not three of the four elementary schools have all asked that we not mail the packets. We scan them to you anyway. So I wanted to check with you and see what your thoughts are. What I'm doing for them is bringing hard copies the day of the meeting, because most of them, like me, are always going to be hard copy. Jackie, bless her, sits there with a computer. I just can't do it.
Transition.
It's the fidget in me. I need to be able to write something. But it's totally up to you. If you prefer to have those hard copies before coming to the meeting, we'll continue to mail. If you have any interest in me just bringing the hard copies for you at the meeting, we'll continue to we'll scan for sure. What's your preference?
I like having it before.
I like having it.
Okay, the hard
The hard
copies.
copy, I can
Then
make
we'll,
notes.
then we'll continue to mail.
I'm
That's
an
fine.
old soul.
Not a problem. No, I
I don't
can.
need it before if you want to separate us, but if you don't,
The-
it's fine.
I will see what Carol's capacity is
It's
to
fine.
keep it straight.
Either way,
Yeah.
So
whatever
not,
is easier.
not a problem. Reminder, so we had our joint meeting couple weeks ago that I think most of you were at, voted the calendar. That will be up, I don't think it's on the website yet, but we always make sure we put it up before break, because I really think people spend Christmas break deciding what next year's Christmas plans will be. So that'll go up there. That's all set. Reminder to you all that we agreed our January meeting. No one wants to come on January 1st. I don't understand it. But we're gonna meet on Monday the 5th. So if that's not in there hard, remember that will catch us all off guard to be doing a Monday meeting.
We all discussed it. Do you remember having
Yes.
your phone?
Right.
Just double checking.
I'll text you
There.
Sunday night.
Right.
That'll be the list.
And we will definitely mail the packet, if not the day before the Christmas break, the week in between, because the packet will include.
I can print that one.
No. Here's the thing, this is not a problem, because this time there's gonna be a mail no matter what. Even if you said you wanted it just scanned, we're gonna give you the hard copy of the draft budget. Because that is a take notes, write things, so
But
we'll.
that's the one you open after
Christmas.
Right, I usually,
New Year's.
before we mailed them, I used to hand them
Yeah.
out and put, do not open
Yeah.
till after Christmas. So that's the rule. Enjoy your holiday before opening it up. But we'll get it out to you so that you'll have time to take a peek at it But that is the meeting for Katie, who has not been through it before, that we will, Kathy and I and Kristen Leo will go through page by page, line by line, and talk about what's in it. And then you will have gone full circle, so you'll understand what you're getting every month now. But that'll be January's meeting. Okay?
Great.
Well, that's it
That's
for me.
usually a longer meeting,
Yeah, that
just
one's
for your
a long
planning
one.
purposes.
Understood.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, moving on to public access. Closing public access, okay. Subcommittee reports, Mary's not here for rural, but do you?
Yeah, and I don't know if the Rural Commission met in the last month. As you could see, and I've shared some of the emails, the Rural Commission and the rural effort is strong. There's a lot of push out there with legislators, so at least if Mary were here, she'd be, well, we know what this year's rural aid is. It's still a frustration because while we push for rural aid, part of this legislative push is also to do the right thing and sort of bake it in the formula. So it's really more, what is more important for us is that if the rural component is gonna be part of a calculation to give rural communities money, make it part of that Chapter 70 formula so we know in January. Because not knowing until June and then not knowing the dollars until November does us nothing. So, as I've said before, I'm not gonna bake in anything for sure that is staff related on a chance that it's one time and I'm gonna have to lay off right after that. So, but I will say, and Kate, Lynn, I bet you heard, because you were at the conference for a couple of days, the MASC and MASS conference definitely had a number of sessions and even global conversations from the non-rurals, which was nice to see. So many of you recall I was quite cranky when the big buzz was on the SOA, the Student Opportunity Act, and all of this extra money that was supposed to come because of it. And we were doing so much paperwork and reporting for what was no more money. It was level funding for us because we were in hold harmless. I think what's happening is our two main organizations are acknowledging that the SOA money went to the urbans. And the urbans got more when we got level. So now they're tapping on the urbans to support the rurals.
Yeah.
And join the, I won't say join the fight, but at least help educate themselves and help educate others that it is one big state and every kid in the state deserves the same education. So we shall see. As I've said before, unless there's a printing press in the back room at the State House, it's difficult decisions to make.
And then we have negotiations, which we have no.
Yeah, no
dates or
subcommittee
anything, yeah.
report, we'll just go into executive session and,
And then building and physical plant, which I do think we'll be touching on, obviously, with later on with the touch.
it could result in
Yeah,
a subcommittee
and-
meeting, yeah.
But
there's been
I
no-
do have something that I wanted to ask. I'm not sure if the committee maybe wants to kind of discuss like the procedure for, and obviously talk about it with administration, like how we used to have those meetings with the sports leagues. I know you don't want to.
Because in all fairness, she shouldn't have to.
I
Your
understand
principal should
that.
not spend the amount of time she
I'm talking
spends
about the
every
school
year.
committee. I'm talking about, I'll do it.
I mean, that's something you guys could talk about, if the school committee
Yeah.
wants to do, I mean,
I just feel like
still-
there's been a lot of issues that have come up with sports leagues that I know about, personally, and there's been problems that we've had, that I've heard.
Well,
What are the issues?
Here's the whole thing. And
So I don't know
we
if
could
it's
put,
like
we could put it
open-
under a new business situation in that
Like, take a look at the
there are
procedure.
all kinds of organizations that want to use the school fields.
Mhm. And the facility. I'm
Our
talking about the
responsibility
buildings, too.
is just to make sure our fields and our facilities are protected. So the doors aren't open all the time,
Mhm.
and that they meet our responsibility is that they meet the needs of our students to educate. So on the fields, it's like, I'm always saying, what do we need for phys ed and recess? Because anything beyond that is more of a community rec situation. But the managing of the space, every principal, with the exception of the one in Sturbridge that I work with, simply has a calendar that says, here's when my building's not being used, and people come and say, one, space is used. Someone else comes along to say, I'd like to use it, it's either available or it's not. What happens here apparently is so many groups vie for the space that there's gotta be some mediation happening amongst the groups, and that, you shouldn't be doing that either, but I don't know what the answer is.
Was there a conversation about recreation?
Yeah, we had talked
Okay.
about whether the rec, now again, I wholeheartedly support and encourage the rec director to be involved in the fields, in the outside use.
Yeah.
Inside, it's a different story. That's a different story.
I don't know. So and you've heard this from me many times, my issue is that there's no way of me, number one, fairly distributing it. We try, and you were in a meeting with us, that it's very hard to get to the point. I've always prioritized the leagues that are Sturbridge students only.
Correct.
And coming to find out over the past year or so that that's not always being represented
Honestly,
appropriately. I then can't manage the fair distribution of practice schedules and things like that. We can't. And we have people that sign them out, and once we've approved it, we prioritize the in-season sports. We've always done that. And, we have had meetings, but respectfully, it's really always been abused, and I don't know how to monitor that from my end.
Right.
So in my past history, I would get requests to use use the facilities, and I would say, sure, we don't have anything going on, and I would just put it on my calendar, and then I was done.
Right.
There was no oversight of how it was being utilized, or who was using it when, or if they weren't using it when they had signed out. So
Well, because it sounds to me, and I could misunderstand, it seems simple enough to say a league or a group is asking, say the soccer, Tri-Soccer is asking for this, and lacrosse is asking for this, and you say, yes, Tri-Soccer can have these slots. Then it's up to Tri-Soccer to disseminate amongst their own teams and their members. Yes?
Yeah.
But is that starting to become,
that seems to have been a problem.
it
very
sounds
recently.
like then
Yes,
it's
yeah.
those sub-teams in between, principals should have zero. It's just not. The principal cannot be responsible for
I don't
that.
think that we should be involved.
Whoever
in
the
that.
leader of those groups are has got to be taking on some of that.
So I guess here's where it comes in. Is it fair and equitable to allow those groups to continue to use the facilities if they're causing problems with Burgess residents who pay taxes to use these facilities? There are issues that are arising, that people are complaining, going to these boards. And the boards are the ones who are abusing the system, basically is what I'm saying. So at what point do we say, okay, now you don't get to do this?
Well, quite frankly, the only point is when we say forget it, then you are the keeper of the school facility, and we're not gonna let any outside groups use them. I don't know how,
Yeah.
I don't know how you get that deep into the weeds, and I don't know, and if somebody has a way, but it shouldn't be the educators
I'm not
that are
asking it to them.
managing.
That's
Yeah,
why
if
I
you
was
have any
asking them.
suggestions,
So I guess, since I don't have kids that are playing sports at this level, can I ask for some clarification on like what seems to be the problem?
So
the-
there's
those boards
many
of
different
those leagues
problems.
are distributing use of the fields that they have signed out from Burgess.
Right, and then there's times that they're switching up game times and practice times to make it more fair to their own children, I would say, or I don't want to say fair as a better word, because that's not the word. Beneficial to their own children, moving things around last minute to their own children, and it's causing a problem within their own league, then they go to that person who's doing it, who's running the league, who is actually the person causing the issue.
Maybe,
But that
so
sounds
maybe
like
that's
more
what
like
they
a
have.
house issue rather than.
It sounds to me
is.
like there should be a
It
built-in
is.
subcommittee meeting.
I agree.
So, and I
that's what
forget
would
who was on it.
think. Me, that's what I'm
And-
asking.
But was there not also?
And Katie Lynn.
So we'll work offline on picking up
Yeah.
a meeting. I would suggest a meeting with the two of you and Kathy to share whatever information she has, and then you guys can get into the weeds, and if you have suggestions, I mean, we'll bring a report back. Anytime a subcommittee meets, you're gonna bring a report back to the full committee. So meet to review what the issues are and the details, and then report back at a future meeting, and
That's fine.
we'll go from there.
That's fine.
Okay.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like anything but fun to me, but that's okay. All right, we'll get a meeting set up.
We'll move on.
Awesome. Okay.
Tentesco rep, that's all you.
So, we got at the joint committee, so I'll talk about the meeting afterwards. MCAS was a main topic, so I'll go over that in just a second. But the school council has raised about $1,800 for their pink out. They are working on a toy drive also. I think residents might be able to donate as well.
Yeah, it was, and it was a question,
Yeah.
and Dr. Dufresne did say he'd kind of get back to us.
So
And
if
I mean,
anybody's
they're
interested.
collecting in the foyer, so I'm
Yeah.
sure anyone could drop off at the high
Yes.
school in the foyer.
Yeah, and that's going until December 10th as well, so anybody who wants to donate. Yes, next Wednesday, yeah. They are doing tech night and tours for interested 8th grade for the vocational program, coming up too. All right, and then MCAS. Let me get my notes out here, there's a lot of information. I'll go over the high school information first. Just to let you know, the high school is broken down between the comprehensive high school and the vocational high school. So they're separated in terms of reporting their MCAS scores. Overall, sorry, let me get this spot. The high school students had 71% of their students exceeding or meeting expectations. The state level was at 51%. Their average, and I'm sorry, this is English language arts. The average scale score was 508, and their achievement level was a 78%. So overall, that's very good, well above the state average. That was for English language arts. For math, they had 74% meeting or exceeding expectations with a scaled score of 513 and an 87% achievement percentage, which is very good as well. Science was 60% at met or exceed expectations, and they had a scaled score of 504, and achievement percentile was 74%. So overall, very good numbers for the senior high school. They made moderate progress towards their goals. All right, so for the vocational side, it's a little bit of a different story, and I know Deb is kind of trying to figure out if they should be combined or not combined. I know you're struggling with
Yeah, I really
so
am.
I can feel that struggle. For ELA, for the vocational side, was 34% meeting or exceeding expectations with an average scale score of 491, 30% at achievement percentile. For mathematics, it was a 47% exceeding or meeting expectations, 499, sorry, the print is a little hard to read, or it could be an 8 or a 9, and with a 60%.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, right, okay.
Looks like a 2 to
60%
me.
achievement percentile. And science was a 35 meeting or exceeding expectations with a 492 average scale score and a 39 achievement percentile. So there does need to be some work there. They did, for the vocational school, though, I think the lower, students who are not meeting expectations, or, okay, hold on. The lowest performing students, there was an improvement for them.
So
that is
they're
good.
moving more out
Yes.
of the right to the left. In my eye, every year I struggle, and then I get consumed by other things and forget that this struggle. The struggle is with those two, it's literally on the books as two schools. So I struggle every year saying, why am I not able to put that data together? Because that's the real picture, because every child in that school has the same math department and the same ELA department. And I really want to say that's the truth. But then I go back and say, well, any other community that has a large group of students who goes to a technical school, their data does not include their technical students. So I keep going back and forth, so it's very hard to find, even appropriate comparisons, although we kind of did talk and circle a lot of it that night. To compare, it's a different path, it's a different set of students that go through these technical programs, and what they go through in their shops are quite hardy. There is statistically, at least in our two schools, a higher percentage of IEP students in the technical school, which also comes into play with your scores. I do dig into what I call more reasonable comparison for our tech school would be looking at other tech schools, like Bay Path or Pathfinder, and we perform pretty well compared to them, even though it doesn't look well compared to the state average. So I continue to struggle with what the right thing was, but either way, there's work to be done, and they know that, and are, you can really dig into where the issues are and what students are really close, but the fact that they're moving off of the far right in is good progress in the right place. Yeah.
And just real quick, the junior high scores, this is for 8th grade students. The English language art was a 49%, meeting or exceeding expectations, where the state level was a 44. Their average skill score was a 498, and their achievement percentile was a 63. For mathematics, it was a 47 for meeting or exceeding expectations, and a 38% for the state. And then their skill score was a 499 with a 70% achievement percentage as well. So they did acknowledge at the junior high that they're not happy, that they are working on some staff and learning goals directly related to MCAS. It's really hard to move scores when you get to that 500, just like it is for us at the elementary level. Once you get to that almost 500, it's really hard to reach those goals that they set for you from DESE. And one thing they did acknowledge that they didn't meet their goals on was the chronic absenteeism, and that's something that includes multiple situations, from medical placements to long-term absenteeism, so that encompasses so much that they're trying to focus on as well at the middle school.
They're a unique grade level,
Only 17,
which is
and a
so
lot of
bizarre,
people are
right?
6,
And
7.
again, they're over state average, but not good enough. I mean, barely over in some cases, and we're better than that. But from a statistic point of view, we do struggle a little bit, because that junior high, when you look at your state average figures, the state average figures is the same for Burgess as it is for the junior high, because they're looking at the state average for all grades 3 through 8. Every school that has grades 3 through 8 in it versus high school. So the high school is different, but so it's weird to look at the state averages for that junior high 2 grades only to be in the same bucket as the grades 3 through 6 in this case, or some 3 through 8. So because they are in that unique, just 2 grades it's a tough 2 grades. It is all about puberty at that point in time. It really is. But work to be done, they've identified the work to be done. Similar to a lot of the things here, especially from the ELA, that the ELA and writing across the curriculum is a focus.
Thank you, Whitney. All right, do we have any unfinished business?
We do not. We have a little bit of a policy reprieve, because all the policies are up, they're secondary only policies, so
All
I
right,
know.
we'll move on to new business. We're going to welcome Ms. Robin Grimm, the administrator. She's going to do a presentation for the athletic discussion for us.
prior life, I taught English language arts at a technical
Oh, there you go.
college,
There you go.
and the challenges are huge.
Yep.
Color. That's why there aren't that many copies, I was saving cartridge money, which you put the time.
I couldn't read them either. Oh, you said 8, I'm like, that looks like a 2.
I just wanted to, I brought like some copies. You guys
Thank
can
you,
share.
ma'am.
You will share. They're not very legible with my old eyes, I can hardly see them. Thank you for having me. A little bit of background on this Burgess Field project. I came in May of '22. So 3.5 years, and this was already in discussions with the prior rec director. I don't know how much the town administrator was involved at that point, but Annie Rossioli had sort of moved on this. Paul Guerin has been involved in talks with us, and when I came on board, McClure Engineering and Joe Cohn, who's no longer with McClure, but is a local guy who does a lot of our engineering projects, had been involved in some preliminary design. I came on board and was introduced to this project. It's had some stops and starts for a variety of reasons. I think some change in staff, Annie left, new rec director comes in, some changes at McClure, a whole host of things slowed it down. But I think we're at the point now, there is ARPA funding that was put aside for some of this engineering work and some of the preliminary things that you see now. We still have some ARPA money. We put it under contract in time to lock it in from ARPA, so I have 26 to spend a little bit of money on this that I have set aside to keep my contract with McClure going as our engineer. So the basic premise was, as you can see in the picture, the basic premise is to turf that field behind the school. It would be paid for by the town side, by the municipal side. Likely I would have to go to CPA for it as a recreation project. It would be eligible for state, for CPC money, which of course, as you know, comes from that tax revenue and of course the state match. So it's a good source for it. It doesn't put us into capital debt. It doesn't put us into a situation where we're eating through free cash to pay for it. There appears to be a will, I think, for people who, obviously we need fields, as we just heard on the discussion. The controversy over turf fields is out there. I mean, so I'm trying to throw at you basically the umbrella view because that's where we are now. The things that we're going to face if we do this, or a host of things, they just put a turf field in the town that I live in. Should have been sort of a no-brainer, but following it on Facebook, it was the end of the world. Everybody was going to die because the field is turf, synthetic. And of course, obviously a lot of these things years ago, there were concerns about contaminants and whatnot. So whatever we would put in would have to be thoroughly vetted, obviously. You know, they're using peanut shells now, cork, all sorts of natural products to ensure that there are no issues. This particular project would be nice because there's very little wetland nearby, very small area, and we would be able to navigate that very well. But what you see there is a very preliminary drawing. And you'll see the baseball diamonds, one of them gets absorbed in it, but we would not eliminate it. It would be, there was originally talk of leaving it dirt. We were concerned about surface changes for kids running. When they change from turf to dirt, it could be a little bit of an injury risk. So we probably would end up doing some type of turf on the diamonds. We would talk about removable mounds so that we wouldn't lose the softball. We would just simply enhance it. This field would it would not allow for regulation, like high school football. It would be a little bit narrow because of the scope that we have, that 200 foot. We probably need a few more feet width-wise to make it for the safety of sidelines. But it certainly could be used for Pee Wee football, flag football, those types of things, movable goalposts. It really is truly being considered as a 100% multi-purpose field. Practice, lacrosse practice, soccer, and as I said, you couldn't play regulation football, but you could have other regulation sports on there. It would be large enough. A couple of the things that are sort of outstanding and where we would need to go next if we decide to go forward with this. There is some question around stormwater. We have to do some stormwater work because anytime you go from the pervious to the impervious, you end up having to deal with stormwater because now you have a surface that's not going to absorb. So we do have to do some stormwater work, and there are discussions over what is under that field right now. There's chatter that it was construction debris, which might make it a little more difficult to do stormwater work. I don't know where that came from. Do you
I
know?
had heard it was just a sand base.
Yeah, and if it's just a sand base, it'll be very easy to work
And I
with.
think we can figure that out because of the work that was done a few years
Yeah,
back.
so we should be able to find the answer to that. And then we started to look at the cost for doing borings, but we never wanted to invest the money until we at least knew and had been able to have a chance to talk to you all and see if this is even something that you all are comfortable with happening, given that it's on the school grounds. The belief is that, our feeling is that during school hours, would be for the school to use, even if, it is, yes, it is built by the town, but we would not obviously have any kind of cross between elementary kids playing on that and outside people coming in. But then after school hours, it would be a 100% recreation thing. The schools, obviously, if they wanted to, apply for space for it, could certainly use it. But the spirit of this is to provide practice fields and some league fields. And with the turf, it does hold up a lot better with the kind of use that our fields are going to get here. Because it is extreme, the need. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't have a lot of details because, again, we don't want to invest too much until we get to the point where we talked to the school committee and had blessing from all involved that would have to be involved to say, yeah, let's go forward and research it further. So before we invest more money, even if it's just ARPA money, I don't like to spend money unless there's actually a reason. And if there's a will for us to continue to look at this, again, we would do a thorough vetting on whatever materials there are, because I do know the controversy surrounding turf. When I was in Stoughton, they did put in a turf field. When I was there, we had some questions about it. We went through all the environmental studies and.
Yeah, Tantascwa is organic.
And
So
it's all organic.
I can simply give what I know about Tantascwa to maybe either add to your information.
Please.
Or answer questions before they're asked. I'm doing my very best to try to keep this from a school perspective, because I'm sitting right here as a school administrator and just gonna put out either comments or questions that are school related. I also happen to live in town, and at some point in time will be,
And whatever information you can
a
share as a
taxpayer
resident,
in
we
there
are,
now.
yes, we are very
but I
happy.
can share, if I was a betting woman, I would think you'd have the same social media
Yep.
outcry. Tantascwa did end up going with, it's organic, it's coconut.
Yep.
It's coconut.
Yep.
So, we did go through that. It's worked out fine.
Yeah.
It does increase the price a bit.
Yep.
And, we can give you data on, I think it's every 4 or 5 years, you need to put a decent amount of money into, adding more. It's more adding more fill. It's not
Yeah,
complete, right, because it does
packs.
pat down,
Yep.
for sure. We've had, which I don't think would happen here much, but because of where Tantascwa is, we had at least a couple of brutal floods, because they are close to the wetlands.
Yeah, they're-
where
yeah.
everything was up and we needed to pay to come and have it resettled, moved around. From a maintenance point of view, and I'm not sure, I don't have a full grasp of if the expectation would be, if it would impact your staff, because you're like, what does this mean for us from our regular operating point of view? Because to have phys ed, as I said earlier, to have phys ed and recess, what we have right now is fine. So this is really more to feed your community, but you don't want to in any way hinder either your children's regular academic day or your operational budget. So if this is something the town is completely fiscally planning to take care of as far as building and then materials to keep up going after the fill, it involves almost, I call it the vacuum cleaning, almost, it's a buffer.
Yep.
So there's a machine that comes with it so it's not like you never do anything. You don't say, oh, all of a sudden there's no lawn mowing needed. There's at least a weekly, it's like freshening up the carpet. Who does that? Should be up for discussion.
And inside the building too. those little
Yeah,
turf
so the
things go
pebbles get
everywhere.
everywhere.
But they're not pebbles, that, we
So-
don't have that much.
I can attest to spending many
So they're
nights
bringing
on
in the coconut
that
husk?
field, on both the cage
Okay.
and the stadium, that
Okay.
I get things in my
Things.
shoes
Okay,
everywhere.
all right,
On
good to
the
know.
bottom,
I did not know, because
in
I
the
don't have anyone
shoes,
playing, and I don't
yeah.
hang out on the fields during the day, so I'm not playing.
Well, and like high schoolers aren't going on the fields during the day, right?
Well,
Turf field,
Yeah, no, I mean, we have phys ed classes on the
they
fields.
go out to the
Yes,
fields.
yes,
But they're going to a locker room to change, aren't they?
in every
Yeah.
phys ed, every child who's
Probably
having
not.
phys ed, they're given the time to. But, yeah, so, but to that point, the field is used for phys ed classes, in addition to all the other fields, so that's fine. The protection of it is a concern, as Robin knows very well, so I'm not sure what the plan would be here, is we lock it up, because otherwise, it has been vandalized. So, and I don't know what towns do. I don't know what happens in Auburn where they have multiple turf fields. I don't know how you protect it from vandalization, and if you've got a lot of community using it all weekend, where's the cleaning up situation? So also, FYI, with the organic, it's more important than ever not to have the coffees and the Gatorades on the organic field. It's a problem for the organic something, so something to keep in mind. But again, we want to make sure that we can just continue to have phys ed and recess. And beyond that, it's a question of, and is there anything else that would be expected of the school? A project like this certainly takes that field out of commission for a few months, as well as our ability not to use, so the timing of it. Tantascwa was done over the summer. We did miss maybe the first month of football season because it wasn't quite done, but it was also a full track being put in. So those are things
This is
that.
already graded, I don't know if that was already graded. This
Well,
is-
it replaced a football.
So it did,
replaced a
okay,
regular
so
football
similar,
field,
it's
yeah.
graded, yes,
But
so that, which
it had
does
to
speed
put
up
in
the,
all of
yeah.
yeah.
But if you have ungraded land, it really becomes
Right,
complicated.
yeah,
Much
no,
more
it didn't.
expensive.
There was some, there was certainly some, there is dirt removed. There were truckloads of dirt removed as they're digging to put in their irrigation system.
Yep.
So, that would just be my questions to you and you, Robin, as to what would the plan be to protect it from damage, and, if it is used a lot, who takes care of the maintenance? If it's used more and littered more than it would if during our regular fields right now.
Yeah, see, I share the concern with the damage to the field. I don't want these fields locked up.
Yeah.
If they're community use fields, they need to be used by the community.
Right, and my question is, do they use the high school?
No.
We lock them up?
They lock them up.
So here's,
So
At
that's
dusk.
like
Yeah.
my number, we
Yep.
cannot have less fields available for the people in this town, because that will be a shitstorm. Sorry, but it will.
Yep.
It will cause more damage than what's
so
worth.
my philosophy on that is that we, right now, we deal with vandalism. We, Turner Field got torn up
Yeah.
and had to be all redone because somebody decided to do donuts in the middle of Turner Field. I don't wanna, I just don't, I don't believe in punishing a community because a few bad apples are there. And that's effectively it. I understand where
Yeah, no,
Tantascwa's
and
coming from.
I'm simply
but-
throwing the experience, I'm not saying.
No, I
I'm just
know.
saying, make sure it's on there, as questions
And
that'll
it
be
is-
asked and answered.
It absolutely will,
Yeah.
and I think, but, we're at a point where if we try to protect it to that degree, we will never have fields in this town. We will never have appropriate field space in this town, because we do not have appropriate field space in this town.
So who would, hypothetically, theoretically, who would maintain the fields? Because you're coming at it as from the town.
Yep.
So, and in what you were saying was that, I think you mentioned Burgess could apply for after
Sure,
school.
Burgess wanted to use it.
So that kind of says to me that the town would be taking over.
That it would become a rec field.
It's a
Correct.
rec
So
field
it would
opposed
be, you would take care of the maintenance, you would take care of the scheduling.
Yeah. So,
There you go.
See,
Yeah,
I'm
it really-
looping this
it really
in, I had a
does.
plan,
and
Kathy.
I think Recreation Committee, and I can't speak for them as they are sort of a separate body, but I think they will have to understand if we go forward. And I start with you, because if you guys say, there's no point in me even going forward. But, I mean, I think they're gonna have to understand that scheduling's gonna have to come out of rec. It's a rec field.
Right.
It's
Right.
paid for by rec, it's funded by rec, or by municipal. So I absolutely don't think it's Kathy's responsibility
Well,
to have
that's
to.
kind of what I was kind of, okay, there was a plan there.
Yeah, I figured there was a
Okay.
segue for your prior question.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, like,
Yep,
we don't have an AD here,
right,
and
right.
that should be her job or
No.
Amanda's job to be doing the scheduling of the field. So that's kind of what I was getting at
Yep.
earlier. So if it is going to become a town thing, I would, and I'm sure the committee would support this as well, would want, is it Andrew?
Yes,
Andrew, to kind of take that over from Amanda.
I would expect that rec directors would be doing that. Rec directors should be coordinating field use. Now, when there's an overlap with the high school and high school sports, it's a little
Right.
different. But generally, town fields, like, this should be no different than Town Barn, this should be no different than Turner Field. That's how I see this. It's our field, not to sound territorial, but
Yep.
it's our field, our
No,
Be
responsibility.
able to
I
put
think-
like a clause in there that, Burgess has first priority. If we had a PTO event or something along, like we have in our, the procedure, the facilities use form right
Yeah.
now, there is who gets what sort of an approval process or who gets approved first priority over someone. Would we still be able to kind of maintain that order for the Burgess students, the PTO,
Extended day program.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
some things like we have the extended day program,
Yeah.
like that. So we would want to, I would think, I'm speaking on behalf, but I would think that we would want to still be able to use that and have that be still considered part of the school day.
And I think those are all negotiable things,
Yeah.
I think that can be talked about. I think we have to be careful that it doesn't become so much that we don't segue into a Tantascwa problem,
Right.
where now all of a sudden the whole purpose is to try to get town more time, but we can't because
The
it's
kids are first.
tied up with the kids. And I get it, but it's not a school field, the school's not.
In an
tied up.
elementary school, it shouldn't happen often, but yes, it's legit, there is an extended day program every day
That
until
has it every day
5.
till 5.
Which is gonna take up a lot of the practice time on that field. And I have to say, I'm not sure that I could commit now to say
Okay.
that field 5 days a week during the school year, from 3 to 5, is gonna be unavailable to other leagues and everything else, or else basically,
And that's
it's now becoming a school
again,
field. Because
I
that's
don't
prime
think that's a
time.
deal breaker, because extended day can use the playground, but it's still
Right, right,
yours.
because
There
that's
are
what,
other
and they use
fields.
the fields
There are other
now.
fields.
They use
Yeah.
it,
Your
they use
kids-
it a bit, but we can shift
Yeah,
that.
if your
other
kids
than
were
that,
running
there
some
are not
special
a lot of-
tournament, and the Burgess kids
Right,
were
like
doing some
some
special
event
fun
or
event,
something, yeah.
I think that we could say is priority. It would be tough if you had leagues that had pre-scheduled times in there, and then at the last minute, Burgess says, hey, we have priority, we wanna use it that day. I mean, I think that would be hard.
Yeah.
But if there's something that wants to get locked in, an annual this, an annual that, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't consider the school first.
Right,
And because at least with Burgess, it's all Sturbridge residents,
right,
predominantly,
right.
as opposed to a Tantascwa where it's even regional. This is a Sturbridge field for Sturbridge kids and adults. This is also if the high school teams need lacrosse, I don't know, does high school have lacrosse practice? Does the high school
Yeah,
do
they
lacrosse
have their
team?
own,
They do all theirs over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we have like lacrosse leagues that wanna come in and practice, they can. It's for all age groups, all people, but I have absolutely no problem with Burgess having some, priority. If there's competing the same day, two organizations
It's
want
rare
it,
that we have
and it's
that
a one-time
conflict.
event, the priority is absolutely gonna go to Burgess or Sturbridge group.
So now I'll be a teeny half a second resident. The town needs more fields. Where's the more fields come from?
Can I, we did just acquire new properties
Yes.
as a town. So I would really like to know, to too, what is going to happen with that property as well.
Yep.
And how that would play into this. And I would hope that we would wait to kind of see what that would come up before we make any major movement with this. We are trying to get more field space. I just would be very cautious of utilizing school space for community, like I would love, I mean, I don't want to close it either, but I think we get into this.
I can answer
Athletic
that a little,
towns,
yeah.
it's like a
No,
I can
I-
answer that a little to your question
Yeah.
if I could. That's a good point. This isn't about necessarily more, because
Right.
it's not. It's what we have.
Right.
It's more durable and able to be used at a heavier and higher level, because we don't have a lot of places. We do run out of practice space. Right now, it is a school field. We use it, we don't use it. It's not increasing space, it's increasing amount of time available on the same space. We would put lighting, so we would be able to go a little later in the day. I think that's an increase, if you will. The question of the Dowdy property is a really good question. The challenge with that is we're going to have, very likely have to put together a master plan for Dowdy. That's not gonna be just willy-nilly, it's 200-something acres. I envision that there could be a whole host of things that people are gonna wanna put on that 200 acres, and I would imagine there are people who are going to wanna put nothing on that 200 acres. And that's gonna be a competing interest in the town, and I think that that's gonna be a much larger and long-range discussion. I have to be honest, I think if we wait, and I get it, logically you would have a master plan of fields, and this would be part of that. My concern is if we wait on that, for that, we could be talking at least, I would say it's gonna be at least, realistically with how things move with government, I would love to say it should only take a year. It's not. That will be 2 to 3 years, I guarantee, before we really start committing. Because to put a plan together, to have public hearings, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of discussion on that Dowdy property. I know people want dog parks in town. I have a big push from some people who want dog parks. And, Dowdy might be a great location for that, it's a little removed, there's a well up there, you can actually get water up there. I would envision that we would have all-purpose dirt fields, grass and dirt fields up there, why wouldn't we? There's enough room to have conservation land, trails, dog parks, and fields. There's a little room for everything up there. I mean, if this was like Robin's World, that would be a multi-purpose, recreational, environmental it's like a dream property where you could put a little bit of everything and everybody could have enough space to enjoy what it is that they like. I mean, that's what I love about that parcel. There's no reason everybody can't get what they want.
I like it because it's near me.
Well, that too. And by the way, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it really is
Well,
just
and I know
such
you
a...
mentioned lights, but Burgess is closed after dark as well, so how does that impact? Do you
So
know
we-
any-
Well, again,
We'd use the
it
parking
shouldn't
lot.
impact.
It should, yeah.
Here's, and
Well, we say
I don't
the
think you're all gonna
property's
have an
closed
answer
out,
right now.
Right.
Yeah, so
But
like
putting
we'd have
lights-
to change those policies that.
Yep.
Well, yes and no. This would be my recommendation, if you support it, and I don't know that we're there yet.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
The cleanest thing, in my opinion, right now, I think it's actually a charter. I think you, school committee, control the facility and the grounds of schools. I believe it's either a charter or a bylaw situation. It's not that case in every town. Because I've got other towns that the selectmen are 100%
Oh, have control of the
in
school
charge
property.
of the school,
Absolutely.
and there's battles there.
Yep.
You folks right now are in charge. My recommendation would be, if this happened, to have a formal vote and agreement that that is no longer the school committee's property to manage. That it completely is the town/rec department or something. So I just think it's the cleanest to say that's there. Then when you have signs up that say Burgess Grounds only, you can't use after dusk. Burgess Grounds is the building, the parking lots, and the fields back there.
Well, and there would be the question,
The town's
because for
gotta
instance,
decide
parking,
that.
I mean,
you have to
parking.
talk about the parking lot, and responsibility for that.
That's where they would park to use the
Yeah,
field.
you
Yeah,
would need the
no.
parking lot, and that's, yep.
I just have one question, and this, I'm gonna ask Samantha. Over the years, we've had in this space 3 different leagues practicing at the same time.
Correct.
So does this actually eliminate the ability for us to do that because of the demand being so great. So does this actual plan make it impossible to have flag football in the middle and softball on one side and baseball on the other side?
I don't know.
And from an athletic perspective, this clearly just cuts the field in half. You're missing your softball, but you kind of have half a baseball. To me, from an athletic, I've coached, I've done it all. This does not provide more field
I don't think
space
the
for me.
picture actually does justice to what we've seen on the
You,
plan.
you
Yeah,
can.
no, I would bring the engineers in, because Paul Guerin's very involved in talking about the design with us, and he's very conscientious about the athletic ability to use
But I'm not
it.
sure if Paul has the full understanding of what utilization, I've been here on the weekends and
Yeah.
I've seen what this can look like, and that my concern would be that we're gonna have, you have 3 leagues that are able to access it as it exists, and then what happens here? That's just.
I can say that the turf would be safer, as in, it wouldn't be a dust bowl,
Yeah.
there
Mhm.
wouldn't
Yep.
be rivets where kids are spraining their ankles, things of that nature. I can say that, unless, of course, the turf, crinkles as it does, and that will have
Oh,
to be
they're not perfect. Turf
fixed.
fields are not
Yeah.
perfect.
I can say that,
But
You
you're
usually-
you're also putting one field in a spot where 3 people could use it when you have one league renting it for a Saturday morning versus 3 leagues. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
you paint them with every sport
So-
possible on them, but
Right.
that doesn't help with
So let's say you have Utah.
how you divide that up
Right.
into 3 pieces.
Correct.
I
Right.
can't imagine it's not doable, but the rec would have to be
Well, if you have
really
a-
saying, on this day you get this chunk. Someone else would have to
Right. If you have a Utah.
Cone it,
I don't know,
string
that
it,
would be
like,
nice.
yeah.
They would take the whole, it's the
Also,
whole field. So that's your
Why is it there
practice
and not here?
space
Like,
for
why is it
everyone.
pushed on one side?
And if
I
you're
have
the
to,
town
that's
opening it
a
up.
fair question, but I think that that's really a question, if it's rec who has to deal with the scheduling. And I'm not saying
not
that
our
this,
problem.
I'm not trying to
No,
say
I'm
it
not
for you,
saying
I
it's
kind
not
of
the
think it's
problem.
rec's
The
problem.
problem
It's
diminish
that's
those
what
fields.
it is.
Well,
That's
I
what
think
you
it's
just
diminishing
said to me,
fields.
that's not the committee's problem, right? That's what we were just discussing.
And that would
So
be-
this is
that's
what I'm
Andrew's
coming
head
back to.
No,
This
they're
is-
good points to bring up.
Yeah.
And I'm not
They're
saying
to bring
it's
up
our
as-
problem.
You don't want to lose a
Right.
certain kind, you certainly don't want to lose the ability to book at least as many as you are right
Right.
now.
But
Right.
so how they
and what
have
they
And that
that,
was my question.
yeah, how
Well,
they-
that it happens up at the junior high.
Right.
If you look at the junior high, you've got what, 3 or 4 soccer games going on at once.
Yes.
yeah,
They paint those lines. Something else would probably need to be done to distinguish those separate sections. Because you sure don't want a situation where there is less and all of a sudden one group is getting this
Yeah,
instead
no,
of
the plan
three.
was that it would increase.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be
I'm not
losing
convinced it
field.
increases.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
that you're-
Let's get
it-
clarification.
I'm not
there's
convinced
no
it
space
The
for
increases.
drawing, does the turf end where these lines are drawn?
Does it end at the soccer field thing, or does it continue to the baseball?
I messaged them today because the original drawing I had, I thought the turf extended out to both diamonds, but I did not get a clear answer today on that. The original drawing was that it did extend out, both diamonds would be turfed.
It just seems like if
But it looks
if
like it cuts it short.
It looks like if it ends here,
Yeah.
I would be concerned about, like,
The-
if
the other
kids are
diamond.
playing on this diamond, now they're
Right.
between multiple surfaces.
And the original drawing I saw had that all encompassing, and then this latest drawing did not, and I don't know when that iteration changed.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, we're preliminary. Before I go invest a lot more money, I just need to know if conceptually it's worth us investing the money, or if the school committee's gonna say, mm-mm.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys need to digest a little bit more.
Yeah,
and we have one
I don't
member
need to know
missing.
tonight, by
So
any
we
means.
can't
So-
even, we
Yeah.
could put it on the agenda
Yep.
again to talk about next month,
Okay.
follow-up
And I
discussion.
think what I would like to do, if there's an interest in doing so, I can have recreation represent, because it really is more, where it's gonna go from here is gonna be more recreations questions.
Yeah.
It's gonna really be on Andrew more than me, who's gonna know
Yeah.
more of this,
Yeah.
and even possibly our engineer and the design, if I, bring him stuff, get him back in the fold on this. So I can always bring the engineer back, it's nothing it's not super time sensitive. If it doesn't make this town meeting, I can always do a special. It's not, I don't, there's no time crunch, other than the fact that we just would like to do something about field problems. I agree, I think Dowdy is gonna be a huge solution if the public supports Dowdy being fields and being recreation, active recreation. I think there would probably be there'd be a lot of comfortable support for passive recreation. But, I mean, I would never presume, given the history of the town and the way it's voted, and frankly, that's on who turns out, who doesn't turn out, like, I don't wanna get to the politics of that, but that's the reality, is that recreation, fields have not been voted through. And so while I agree with you that Dowdy, we have this whole big parcel of land, we should be thinking about it doing a large master plan, I don't necessarily have all the confidence in the world that I can say, well, you know, we don't really need to do this now because Dowdy, I would be hard pressed to think I'm gonna get turf on Dowdy. I really would. I think this lends itself more to people thinking of this as a potential for turf. So if we're going to have a municipal turf field, it would likely be this. Dowdy, I do think maybe we can get fields, general purpose fields, a dog park, things like that I think would be great over there. But I do not think, and I'm not even sure it would be appropriate in that area to necessarily put turf. And so those are the things we're kind of grappling.
For your time frame, Robin, are you hoping for a vote or a general field for the January meeting, or
No,
is
no.
February okay?
February's fine.
Okay,
You got
so
budgets
because
and
that's
stuff.
my
I've got
suggestion is
budgets.
we put
Yeah,
it on
no.
the agenda for February, gives you time even to have some conversations, some current issue conversations with building a physical plan.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the January meeting will be pretty
No,
full
there's
with
no,
budget.
there's no rush
Okay.
on our end.
So maybe we'll bring it back in February.
And like I said, even if we were looking at it for warrant articles, if it didn't make the regular April, it could make the, special at the April meeting, or,
we moved to April.
or it kills me. Or you can, we can always
Was a
do,
mistake.
please, we all asked, we
was a
all
mistake.
asked, please don't do this to us. And because then what happens is the budget comes so
Alright,
fast, but then all these other things
Right.
that you don't have time to get numbers on, and I've gotta get to CPC, and I've got,
It's my one regret, I wish I had stood up and spoken that night against that piece.
yeah, it's hard,
I
it is
didn't.
tough. So, that being said, I can always, there's no credit, I can always do a special in June, I can do we can pull together a special meeting if we need to do something.
So
There's no problem with that.
I have a few questions.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure, I have some idea of what it's used for now. I
Yep.
do have children in the district that are all involved in sports. Is it, I've never actually seen it used as a soccer field or a lacrosse field to this degree before. Is this something that it's used for, or would this be, I know it's used for that, but not to this degree?
Not to this degree, no.
So, I'm really hurt by softball field being taken up that way. I feel like the softball fields in general aren't treated as well as the baseball fields, and I feel like this is now just taking one away. I know it would still be kind of there, but it's hidden under the lines. I would want to know if we are turfing the whole thing, why not just turf it as is and not add this soccer-esque field lines down, and keep the softball and keep the baseball as is, and then we can continue to use it, and then it's not weird being like, okay, well, what does this field for, what does this field for, because it's basically the same, it's just,
Yeah, I don't think there was ever an intention to push off or put aside the softball fields, because originally I wanted to leave with dirt. And we had a lot of debate, and they said, now you can't have two surfaces. So there is, and like I said, we've talked about movable mounds,
Yeah, and see, that's the piece I can't
there's
speak to.
discussion
because
on
neither-
saving the backstop.
We don't
you know.
have baseball
Well,
or
for
softball.
the diamonds.
yeah,
So I
I'm
can't
more
even
upset about
envision how
throwing
that
this
works.
soccer field on top of the softball field.
Yeah, and please don't take this drawing as gospel. This literally was just something I brought so you could see a layout, an aerial layout.
Okay, so
This is absolutely still in progress.
Okay, 'cause-
Yeah, no.
Ideally, what I would love to see is, as is, turfed as is. The baseball field is turfed, looks great, softball field, turfed, looks great, and both get lights, because I believe it right
Yeah.
now, there's no softball field with lights. And we have a really robust softball
Yeah,
league in our town, and they can't play after dark, where in baseball they can.
yeah.
So I would love to see lights, I would love to see both of those done. But if a giant soccer field is thrown, like lines are thrown on top, I'm,
No, it is not intended to favor
okay,
soccer or any
yes.
sport. I think maybe, what I would probably, these are great points.
Also where the lights would be.
Yeah, and that, we had talked about that with the location of lights, again, so that the diamonds would still be,
Primarily, yeah.
would get the use. I think, and these are questions that are a little a little different
little
from
prudent.
school committee questions, they're actual recreation
Yes.
questions.
They are,
But I would love to have you all, if you have a subcommittee or you wanna put, I mean,
Yeah, we're on the subcommittee.
so I'm thinking if you go to a rec meeting, I think that this really needs to go to the level of rec, because that's a little out of my hands too, how rec sees this, I
Yeah.
have to be careful not to overstep them. So I mean, to me, I would think that maybe a joint meeting of your sub and maybe a rec subcommittee, or
Yeah.
you two go to a rec meeting, and have Andrew and rec involved in this, because the questions you're asking are truly rec questions.
Yeah,
And really, it's the will of recreation,
How
not
many
Yeah.
mine.
softball fields are in town?
I think technically 3. It's this one, the one behind BT's, and then the one.
And then the one down at
Wait,
the barn.
the one by the
And one
park.
of my things was I didn't wanna abandon these because we just put $75,000 into them.
Yeah,
And while some of that 75, the dirt would go away, let's say if we turfed, you know, we talked about the fact that dugouts are there, the trash bins, all those things we went through with doing that. That's still gonna be there.
yeah.
That is
Oh, no,
almost-
but this softball field is used for kickball during, like, my kids use it for kickball
Yeah.
during the school. So like,
Yeah.
that's gonna be the field mostly used for the students during the school day.
Yeah.
So I would hate for that one to be obscured or not
Okay.
given.
And I think those are the things that need to be brought to a design committee before any of
Yes.
this was ever finalized. So before I ever brought this to CPC, to say, here, we want, you know, $1.5 million or whatever, I think it would be important for you both to look at whatever final design is, because you're looking at it also from the perspective of what, during the school day, what the kids are gonna have, because it is,
Well,
Yeah.
because we're stretched for space for
Right.
recess, so I
right,
mean,
so, I
it's-
mean, I would want
Yeah.
the input of how
Kickball is
that's
like,
used,
yeah.
yeah.
They-
how-
they use
they'll
the
play-
fields.
God, kickball's one thing we actually all played even,
Yeah.
like, 100 years ago. But I agree, and I think that those are the discussions, and that's where the two lines merge.
Yeah.
As I see it. So I think it would be important to have rec meet. In the end, it doesn't matter to me, you know, in Robin's perfect world, like, everything would be football, because like that's team sport, and kids learn all about team and all sorts of things in football, but that's just my take. So, you know, if it was me, it'd be a football field. But it's really the will of, again, I just sort of represent what the will is of the bodies. And so I think it's important that you guys go to rec, and then ultimately rec's gonna have to take it to the select board.
Yeah.
And the select board's gonna have to say they're comfortable with it, because then we do have that body involved. So, my recommendation would be, before we even bring it back here, if there's at least a will, or a willingness, I should say, of this committee to take it to another step, to now start bringing you all in on design, to have, because now the schools are involved. And I think that was what, to some degree, Paul's role was too, was to make sure that the school is protected in this too. That we move it to that level of bodies as opposed to staff.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we said let's have a building and physical plant subcommittee.
Yeah.
I whispered to Kathy half an hour ago, you should invite Andrew to that because we're dealing with current situation.
Yep.
We're gonna have that meeting, and now it just became a two-part meeting. Because in addition to what's happening right now and how can you kind of problem solve the current situation, hopefully you'll have a meeting with Andrew and can start talking about that and then decide if there's more meetings
And
afterwards.
maybe bring the chair of rec in.
Yeah, so at least can have that, yeah,
Who's the chair of the rec?
Katie?
It is Katie.
Yep.
all right. Then-
So I mean, if you had
We will,
Andrew and Katie
we'll
in,
try to
I think
orchestrate
that would
that.
be,
Yeah.
and then you can talk about all these questions.
Yep.
Yep.
And your question is the bigger one that looms for me. And, but my thought on it and why I kind of because I had the same question, do I still want to even move forward with this until I know what I'm doing over there? Two-part, that's gonna be a long time down the road, and then the second part is that I really, and again, this is me talking, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but my gut is that a lot of people on all parties would agree, turf is probably not gonna be accepted
didn't
over
mean
there.
turf
It's
or
not,
anything,
it doesn't
but
belong there. I just,
There's other fields, we
Right.
don't have turf anywhere in town,
No.
but fields, period.
right,
Right.
fields
Would
period.
be nice.
Well, I
And
absolutely.
we've been waiting for 15 years for fields, 2 to 3, doesn't seem that long
Yeah.
either. So.
But if I can do two things, I think I see these as separate projects, even though they are related because it's all about field space.
Yeah.
This is turfing what we have here and sort of changing what we have, adding a little what I think is gonna be time it's not so much days or space, but time and hours of use. That is really gonna be, that's new, that's additional. I think of that as like all-purpose fields where someone can go out with their kid and toss a ball. Teach their kid to pitch a baseball. General practice, whatever it might be, plus things like outdoor recreation. I mean, in my perfect world, we're working with our internal opioid staff. I mean, we have the opioid funds, for example. And they have, one of the things that we can do with that is do like outdoor fitness and outdoor yoga. They have these spaces that they pour a concrete base, and then they put a space out, and it's outdoor physical equipment, outdoor meditation and yoga space. We have opioid funds that we actually can use for that. That's something I kind of would like to see at Doughty. I think it's such sort of a beautiful Zen kind of, so we could talk about that for people battling addiction and recovery and promoting healthy lifestyles and all of those things that we can use those opioid funds for. It won't fund it completely, but like in my world, when I'm thinking big picture on Doughty, like I've got so much that's like a blank canvas.
Would you consider another, our playgrounds here,
Yeah.
those of you are used, maximally
Yep.
used all week, well,
Yep,
at night
splash
and
pad.
on the weekend. Say that again?
Oh God, I've had a few requests for one of those.
Oh, that's a well, you said.
But absolutely, like
Yeah.
playground space, things we need. I would love to see it where a family could go to a community outdoor area and have adult Zen space, yoga space, whatever. Have their one kid playing on a playground, have the one parent or the kid with the dog in the dog park. There's no reason why, like, we have this beautiful piece of land. This could, like I said, we have a blank slate as a town. I'm extremely excited about the future of that. It's gonna be challenging, because everybody's got sort of competing interests, but I can see a lot there.
Just a couple school-related
Yep.
questions about the fields. So we talked about, school kind of owns the fields during the day. Would there be restrictions surrounding like the field days and the carnivals? and
Because we
those-
set up in advance and
Because,
stuff like that.
well, we set up in
And
advance.
then we
I'm
leave
thinking
things
about
on.
like we have like inflatables that come in for those types of events, and like can you put that on top of turf? That would be like restrictions on things that we currently use those fields for, so that would be a pretty big concern
Yep.
for me. And then I sort of second what Sam said about really not wanting fields to be locked up. And so I think we can say that at the beginning, right? But then if we ultimately sign
Yeah,
over
we're
the
not
fields to the
having enough
town
power.
and we don't have any
I-
control over it,
I can tell you as long
Yeah.
as I'm sitting in the seat, but I can't guarantee what happens after me,
Yeah.
I will fight any effort to lock it.
I can say this current Board of Selectmen does not want that
Absolutely.
field locked up.
I can attest to the board, myself.
But what happens after, like?
I know.
Yeah.
But then,
I think you're far less likely to have that problem. The community's gonna not want it locked up.
Yes.
The town's gotta figure out
I'm
how
gonna
to
have the
protect it and
headache of-
clean it
yeah.
and deal with
Yeah.
every,
And it's cameras,
Violation,
law enforcement,
exactly,
and, I mean, it's
right.
really gonna, I
Yes.
mean, it's gonna have to be a concerted community effort on that, and
Yeah, and-
it's gonna have a cost to it, certainly, but, I mean, again, it's like what we dealt with Turner, I mean, they dug it up and it cost us money to fix it, and you just,
it's
like,
easier to do that
what idiot.
when it's a single town making the decisions.
Yeah.
It's harder at Tantasco
Yes.
where we have 5 towns. It's not owned by Sturbridge. It's not owned by Brookfield. It's owned by the district, which has 5 towns. And every time something goes wrong, I can't just say, taxpayers, you wanted this, so let's help fix it, because there's 4 other towns that'll say, yeah, no.
But if we sit and we say, no, we are not fencing our fields,
Right,
and they have public access.
right.
I mean, I don't want anybody not to be able to go on that field.
Yeah.
At 7 o'clock at night. If they wanna go jogging around or do whatever they wanna do, as long as it's not damaging my field, I don't care.
There's no track around it, is there? Robin?
No,
It's designed
no,
track.
no. When I say run around, I don't
Right,
mean
yeah,
literally
no,
run
no.
around, yeah.
you're saying that like you want a tracker around it?
It would be nice. I think part of it is there is a little bit of a
Teachers,
space constraint where it drops
Yeah,
off.
you're gonna run out of space.
That's why the width
You
would
haven't
need
quite
to be
got that much
football
space.
width, because of the where it drops down.
Yeah,
So we have to watch that little corner of wetland, we have to be careful.
yeah,
Yep,
okay.
so,
All right, some subcommittee meetings,
So I
and
think the
probably
next-
February, we'll
Yep.
put it back on the agenda to talk about.
and I'll leave it to you guys at that point, because I think what's gonna happen is it's really your discussion, and when you're ready, I'll bring rec into the picture.
Okay.
But I think it's really, at this point, a school committee discussion,
Yep.
whether you want me to even facilitate the next step.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
All right, there.
I'm still here, right?
Last on the agenda.
So, yeah, the only thing left, if there's no other new business,
Yes.
is,
So we are going to request to enter into executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, 21A to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. The committee will adjourn from executive session. We will roll call into executive session. Kavinsky, yes.
Goodwin, yes.
Keighley, yes?
Gender, yes.
awesome.